clicked on this video, obviously, you could see we're doing what I would call a fighter focus. Pretty much this is the first in the series of me looking into a specific fighter and just telling you everything I know about him. And I'd say I know quite a bit. So today's fighter focus will be on Djinn. Djinn is a natural diamond Philia, a fire type, and she is in the second gen of diamonds. In my opinion, she is the better of the two, of both Djinn and Glasscutter. I have both, and I much prefer my Djinn, but that is a mixed bag of opinions on that. So, just a basic Philia combo, we all know this. And as for a natural diamond, I would say she is not purely, but she is mostly offensive. With the second highest attack stat in the game, at 15.6 base, but with a rather low HP. I'm not sure exactly, but she's in about the bottom 5 for lowest HP counts on a natural diamond. But she's an attacker, so it's not too important. So as for her abilities, right here, it is called 3 Wishes. At the first upgrade, it's every 10 seconds, gain 3 random buffs for 5 seconds. And then the second ability, which is the big deal, 33% chance when using a blockbuster to convert 3 buffs into permanent enrage. Now, these permanent enrage, they will go up, as you know, they stack up to 5. So getting 5 stacks of permanent enrage is a very big deal. Then after that, any buffs you gain after that will just be random. You can gain even more enrage, but you cannot turn them permanent afterwards. As for the skill tree, I would recommend, for the most part, starting off with the getting your ability, getting your combo. Those are very important. The unblockable, I recommend getting it, but it's not like, if you don't have the 200k, it's alright, you can do that later. After that, you need to do the moves. It's a very big deal because she's a very blockbuster heavy fighter, so having a lot of moves and having the right moves is obviously a very big deal for her. After that, I would recommend getting the attack. Obviously, she's offensive, it's important, so having a higher attack stat will help you kill things faster. It's a big deal, obviously. Then you could do the HP. Not as big as a deal, but it's obviously helpful. Lets you survive. Damage reduction is always a good thing. Same for blocking, because she could actually die when blocking, because her HP is pretty low. Then after that, I would recommend getting the energies. That's the last one, not too important, makes it so you could use her more, level her up faster. Obviously a good thing, not too big of a deal. After this, you have the Marque ability. Now this is more of an interesting one. It could be argued that First Cut is better. It could be argued that Leech is better. As you could clearly see on display, I prefer Leech. Because what I see Djinn is she is the best user of Leech for Philia, and because Leech has got a massive buff, 20% increase to her healing abilities. So pretty much what it does is after a blockbuster, you'll gain pretty much back 30% of your health, up to 100, depending on if it's a tier 2, 1, 2, or 3. So I would recommend Leech, but going to First Cut if you're using a bleed moveset is perfectly viable. It'll add on permanent bleed on top of your enrage to make you offensively even more powerful. But by doing that, you'll lose all survivability you have, and survivability is very important late game, especially for Rifts, if you have that in mind. After that, specific moves. This is my personal moveset. If you have a bleed moveset, you could go with things like French Twist, moves like Ringlet Spike. They apply the bleed very well. If you're going with the bleed, I recommend using those along with the drill and the Gregor Samson, applying bleed, and then drill tempered. If you're going with bleed on her, instead of the blockbuster, you will want to use the Fanner Drive because the bonus damage on the bleed. But that is not what we're doing. This is the Djinn. The Djinn is all about the damage. So for the moves, I recommend Drillation. It is just a very good move on dash back. It works well for after you finish your combo, you dash back, you're safe when you use that. Then the Gregor Samson Drill Tempered. These are needed because you're all about using blockbusters. So and using the blockbusters, the more you use, increases the chance of you gaining your enrage. So having these 2 blockbusters, which charge very quickly, is obviously very good. After that, I recommend Trich Bozar for sheer damage. because she's all about the damage. She's all about the big hits. And since this is a singular big hit, if you're fighting an enemy that gains like armor, for example, the chance of them getting armor from this is pretty low because it's just one hit. And this is an absurd amount of damage, especially if you have it upgraded. Then for the unblockable, both could be argued, but I would say Blowout is a little bit better because it does, I believe, a little bit more damage and it's less hits. So as I said with the armor thing, you gain less armor. The enemy will gain less armor. And reducing their blockbuster meter, it's obviously a very good thing. After that, as for attack stats, the absolute required ones, you need these two. If you do not have these two, do not invest in the move. Attack is the number one, obviously. She's offensive. You could bring that 15.6. Maya's not properly invested yet. It's only about 8k, but you could bring it up to 15. So you could have her attack stat like double if you're properly invested in her, which is obviously very strong. After that, you will need accuracy. Accuracy, I found, is absurdly important for Djinn, because if you do not have this, you'll be stuck at the 33% chance. Obviously, that's a relatively high chance, 1 in 3 chance every time you use a blockbuster to convert your buffs into enrage. But if you get the accuracy, it'll increase that chance. So even if my just 21%, that increases it by a good amount and makes me, like, every time I use it, more likely to get the permanent enrage, which is what makes Djinn so strong. So those two, you need them. Those are very important. After that, the third most important is meter gain. It's pretty self-explanatory. You fill up your blockbusters faster, which means you can use them more often. And that, in turn for that, you could use more blockbusters, making it so you have more chances to convert your buffs into permanent enrage. And more blockbusters is more damage. We all know that. After that, I would say, I was mentioning the color palette. If you did not know, this variant is a reference to Shantae, which is, I do not remember the game. I don't have it off the top of my head. I've never personally played it, but of course I know the character. Everybody knows the character. And obviously the purple hair is, in my opinion, very nice. Alright, so from here, bring her into Showcase and Training. I will show you, so we all know these are about 90k fighters. They are very strong. And what you could do with them is, well, quite insane. That I do not know exactly what their attack actually is, and their HP actually is. Attack is, I don't know why I mentioned that. But HP, you saw just basic combo right there, did about 17%. Just like that, no big deal. Here, these blockbusters. If we are lucky, we'll pick up, there we go. Just, you know, just the second one, already gained in rage. Got the enemy already down to 49%. And look at that. Three stacks of enrage. A single hit does critical 3% and a non-critical 2% of health. That is a lot of damage. I'm sure you know that. So here, use more blockbusters. If we're lucky, we'll pick up more enrage. There we go, 5 stacks of enrage, and the first sparring partner is already dead. So now I will showcase Tret Bozar. So here, 94. Hit like that, down to 64%. You saw that was about 130,000 damage, if I'm not mistaken. That is a lot of damage. And I will go ahead and just kill this sparring partner so I can properly display the blockbuster damage, because it's a lot. It's a really big deal. Her damage is absolutely absurd. So here we go, 100% HP. All the way down to 50. Exactly 50% of the training partner's health, which is an absurd amount. So that just shows the amount of damage the Philia can do. And if you are lucky, you could pull even more enrage as the random buffs you would get. You could get that, and that is obviously absolutely absurd if you happen to get that. The damage is absurd. So for the ideal team to use in combo with the Djinn Frizz, in my opinion, would be us in the second spot, Evergreen. I do not personally have her, but her ability to permanently, well, not permanently, but her ability to, every time you gain a buff, increase the duration for, I believe it's 3 or 4 seconds. So this means after 10 seconds, you'll gain, instead of your buff lasting for 5 seconds, it'll gain either 8 or 9 seconds. And then you lose it, and then 1 second later, or 2 seconds later, you get new buffs back, which is crazy. And then, but I do not personally have her, so what I do is I use characters like Persona or Killjoy, because they, Persona, although the buffs she gives are permanents, just the support buffs are very good, and because the Djinn is an offensive fighter. She could die pretty quickly, so you really need the support. And then the most important after that would be Surgeon General. As we all know, Surgeon Gen is probably the best support character in the game. She has some rivals like Killjoy and Persona, but I'd say her ability to give you the immunity and heavy regen for 15 seconds every 30 seconds is a really big deal. Combo that in with the Evergreen, and it lasts even longer, so that's crazy. But the thing that sells her for me is Trauma Center. Whenever you take a hit that deals more than 10% of your health, gains Final Stand for 15 seconds. The Djinn has low HP, so the chance of you taking a hit that deals more than 10% of your health is very likely, so it's going to happen quite often. Whenever it does, you will not die. You'll be saved from this, and that is a big deal. And it'll save you many times in high streaks. Saves me all the time in the 70, 80 streaks I occasionally do. So it obviously is a very big deal. Now on to a quick showcase and prize fights. Don't have too high of a streak now, so not the best example. But here, just take the 68k team. It's a fairly strong team. And I'll bring in the nice little combo I'm talking about, which works very well. If you do not have Persona, I know that not everybody has her, but if you happen to not have her, Killjoy also works well. You use her, put her in the back. If you happen to die, if the enemy removes your buffs and you happen to die despite having a Surgeon Gen, then you have her in the back and she'll save you all. Obviously a big deal. So here, quick display. Here up against a Lovecrafted. Lovecrafted, very high HP, everything. We all know this. Let's see what's her bonus. 70%. That's not too much, but obviously it's bonus HP on a max Nat Diamond with a lot of HP, so it's going to be a little bit tough, but not too bad. Unfortunate, we couldn't pick up any Enrage. That's what she's all about, but it works fine. And the Drill is incredibly helpful because it's on every hit a 10 to 15% chance to remove their buffs. By doing that, you could deal with characters that are down forever, who have all their debuffs, and it's going to make it a problem for you when they do that, but you remove it, it's not a problem. So there we go, Neuromancer's out, primed out, no big deal. That may hit, okay, it did hit. But you see, that was accidental. But as you could see right there, look at all that damage we gained. As you saw right there, I was at 30% health, I did one blockbuster and went right up to 80. Wasn't even a tier 2 or 3, just a normal blockbuster, and it's just like that, went right back up. So as you can see, fairly easy, not too high a streak. I'll display it later on a bit better if possible. But just quick display on how she absolutely dominates. Now, as for the downsides of the Djinn, it has to be mentioned in every when you're talking about a fighter, because no fighter is perfect. Every fighter has a counter. And for the Djinn, I would say her hardest counters are Blockbuster Denial, which, as we had just been fighting, a Lovecrafted is probably her biggest problem, because there's nothing you could really do about having your blockbusters denied, aside from after 30 seconds gaining the Surgeon, but that's not really too relevant here. But that will deny you from getting your blockbusters, and if you don't use your blockbusters, you can't convert your buffs into Enrage, and that'll keep you at no stacks of Enrage, and your Djinn will be very much underpowered from there. And you'll typically find that in Rift battles, so that's mainly a problem for there. If you not in Rift battles, in prize fights. If you are a Rift battle player, the biggest thing to watch out for is Blockbusted, because it makes it so if you have a fully charged Blockbusted, when you hit them, there is a chance that you'll get Blockbusters disabled, and that'll make it so you just can't use your Blockbusters. That is obviously a very bad thing, because you no Enrage, no strong Djinn. So watch out for that in Rift battles. It is a big deal. If you go into it blindly and ignore that, there's a good chance you will lose, because you will run out of time and you won't be able to kill him fast enough. But that is just quick fighter analysis on Djinn. In my opinion, gonna say it again, she is one of the best diamonds in the game for pure offense. If I'm not mistaken, she has the ability to do the most damage from a single blockbuster in the entire game, when you have her fully stacked up with the Enrage and then the random Enrage from your abilities. So she's really only rivaled, in my opinion, by characters like Jawbreaker and Flytrap when it comes to just pure offensive power, and she far outclasses Class Cutter in that, but we're not taking Bleed into account for this. So there we go, fight analysis on Djinn. If that helps you figure out anything about her, it'd be awesome. Let me know if it helped. Anything you want me to change, let me know. Any criticism is wanted. Want to make this better. Just making it better for you guys. Any more info you want to know about it, let me know. I'll try to improve the ones I do in the future. And that's mainly it. It's mainly it for Djinn. You can subscribe if you feel like it. Honestly, don't have to. It'd be cool if you did, but you know, you're not required to or anything. And well, despite the fact I mentioned that I plan on improving it, I do have a planned fighter, more fighter focus is coming soon. I have them in the making, but I'll see how those go. See you guys.